If you're doing all the right things and you are still not losing weight, it can be extremely frustrating, especially as a woman over 40. So I want to tell you why this might be. If you're eating well, you're exercising, you may be even tracking your food, but the scales still aren't moving, it might not be what you think. In fact, this one sneaky habit that I'm going to tell you about could be undoing all of your hard work, and you might not even realize that you are doing it. So this video is for women over 40 who feel like they're doing everything right, but not seeing the results they expected. So I'm going to explain how emotional eating shows up and how even if you think you're eating pretty healthily, why it's so common during this phase of menopause, perimenopause, and what to do to break the cycle without restriction, without shame. So I want to start by emphasizing that if this is something that is showing up for you, if you're noticing this pattern of emotional eating, you're not broken. And I want to tell you why it's so common among women over 40. In fact, I probably guess about 80 to 90% of my clients struggle with some form of emotional eating. And here's why. Hormonal changes during perimenopause and menopause, when we have specifically more lower estrogen, lower progesterone, can really affect mood regulation and cravings. So it's a bit like PMS on crack, perimenopause. It's like your PMS symptoms are heightened for sometimes years. So maybe not all in a row, but for several weeks of the month, you might feel like those perimenopausal cravings or mood dysregulation are really heightened. There's also, as many of you will know, it's a period of higher stress, higher cortisol, more frequent stress. So our ability to willpower our way through these situations really becomes dramatically reduced. And the other thing is, women over 40 are often nurturing everyone else and coping with other major life shifts, whether that's family or work or relationships, and food can really become a comfort without us really even realizing it. So here's how emotional eating can sneak in even if you feel like you're doing everything right. And as I said, I see this very commonly with my clients where all during the day they're eating very well, high in protein, high fiber, strength training, getting their steps in. And then after dinner hits and it's this cookie monster, or there's this unstoppable force within you that makes it really hard to maintain those good habits in those couple of hours before bed. So often you're grabbing snacks after dinner because you're exhausted or emotionally drained. A lot of the time it's not about hunger, it's about stress relief, it's about habit or self-soothing. And some common signs that you might be falling prey to emotional eating are things like eating when you're not physically hungry, and you might notice that. You're thinking, I'm eating, but I'm full, I don't really need food, but I'm eating anyway. Mindless snacking in front of TV or your phone, that's a really common one. And this is another very common one, rewarding yourself with food at the end of a tough day. The I deserve it mentality, I call that. So here's what I want to tell you. This is why or how emotional eating can block fat loss, even if it doesn't look like binge. So the extra 200, 300, 400, 500 calories a day from harmless snacks can add up really fast. I often say that we have less margin for error after 40, and you might have noticed this yourself. You might feel like you're eating the same way as you used to, you're exercising the same way, but the weight keeps piling on. So we have less margin for error. That's for a couple of reasons. We're often moving a little bit less after 40 in this perimenopause, menopausal phase because A, we're exhausted, B, we're busy, or C, we're really stressed. And that just results in less calorie output. So a couple of hundred extra calories from mindless snacks can add up really fast and can be enough to tip us into that weight gain arena rather than maintaining or losing weight. All of a sudden, we're slowly but steadily putting on the weight. These calories that we have from the after dinner snacks, the mindless eating, can often or more often than not come from high carb, high fat foods. So they're very often not high in protein. So then we see more blood sugar spikes, more cravings. We're less satisfied by them. So we're more likely to eat more. More often than not, tell me if I'm wrong, but we're probably not snacking or mindless eating on carrots and celery after dinner. If you are, then kudos to you, that's great. But most of us, it might be biscuits or chips or nuts or just a handful of this and that here and there, more likely to be higher carb and higher fat foods. And you might not even realize how often it's happening. That's the other thing, unless you get really curious about it. And when I say curious, I really want to emphasize being non-judgmental about your own habits when it comes to this. As I said, it's very common and it is fixable. So things like, as I just mentioned, a handful of popcorn here, a few nuts there, a biscuit or two with your cup of tea, it all adds up, and a few hundred calories a day can quickly equal the scale going up. So here's what to do instead. If you're resonating with any of this, if you're recognizing any of these patterns in your own behavior and you're struggling with losing weight, here's what we do instead. Here's 3 simple strategies, and I call them the 3 Ps. And I use these with my clients. They work really well. They're very easy to remember. So if you have a pen and paper, write it down or save this video, because these 3 Ps will be your savior. The first 2 Ps, actually it's 4 Ps, 3 simple strategies, 4 Ps, because the first strategy is 2 Ps at once. Pause and pattern interrupt. What do I mean by that? What I want you to do is, if you're tracking your food already, great, but instead of just tracking your food, I want you to track your emotions. If you're not tracking your food already, just track your emotions. So these times when we're more likely, more prone to these emotional eating binges, are usually times of emotions like stress, like loneliness, sadness, isolation. All sorts of things can trigger emotional eating. The important thing is that you recognize what it is in you. So the first thing is to pause and just sit with those emotions for a minute. So this is going to help you work out when you're most likely to emotionally eat and how you're feeling at that time. The next part of this strategy, the pattern interrupt, we want to put a bit of a delay. So the pause is also sitting with the feelings, but also put a bit of a delay between the urge to grab the packet of whatever or mindlessly snack on something and the action. Can you delay the snack by 5 minutes? Even a minute or 2 can be helpful, because often those emotions pass and the urge to go to the cupboard or go to the fridge passes as well. Check in with yourself in that 5 minutes. How are you feeling? What do you actually need in that moment? I always say it's not about the food. It's about what you actually need. What is the food giving you? What is it feeding in a metaphorical sense that you are actually looking for? Do you need support? Do you need rest? Do you need distraction? Do you need a hug? Do you need time alone? Really check in with yourself and work out what it is you need in that moment that you are looking to food to provide. Once you know this, it's really powerful, because then you can build in daily outlets to feed those emotional needs with something other than actual food. So if it's connection, if it's rest, if it's joy, if it's excitement, if it's calm, once we recognize that is what we're actually looking for, then we can start to build those into our day. So the second strategy, 3rd P, is protein. Actually, that's a surprise. Protein-rich meals. But it's not just dinner that's important here. The meals, protein, as you guys will know if you've watched any of my videos on food and nutrition, protein really helps keep you satisfied all through the day. There's fewer blood sugar dips through the day, which means fewer cravings, fewer urges to mindlessly binge or mindlessly eat at night. And it's really important that we're starting that from the first meal of the day. So even if these mindless snacking moments come 10 or 12 hours after that first meal of the day, it's often what we've done previously in those breakfast, lunch, and dinner that results in us being, sometimes we are physically hungry at the end of the day, and your body's looking for ways to feed that. So is it physical hunger? Is it psychological hunger? If it's physical hunger, we need to make sure you're getting enough protein and enough fiber through the day to make sure we just settle and dampen those cravings late at night. The 4th P, the 3rd strategy, 4th P, actually, there's another 2 Ps here. I like my alliteration. Progress over perfection. So it's really important in this process that you're not aiming for perfection, because when we aim for perfection and you slip up, then, you beat yourself up. There's this cycle of shame and guilt. You want to just create that awareness and start to see if we can slowly implement some little changes into these patterns of behavior. So progress over perfection. We're not going to solve this overnight. I don't expect you to watch this video and be like, great, I'm cured. Like, my mindless snacking is never going to come back again. So just aim for little improvements every day. And each time it happens. If you're in that situation again and you find yourself elbow deep into a bag of chips before you even realize it, create that awareness. Go back through those steps and think, where did I need to put the pause and that check in with myself? So looking for that progress over perfection. So if this resonated with you, I hope it did. I hope it was helpful. Comment below, or you can DM me if you don't want to comment. If you're on the Facebook, if you're in the Facebook page, comment below the word goddess. I'll send you the tools, one of this really simple checklist that I use with my clients to help with this issue, this challenge. So just DM me or comment the word goddess and I'll send that to you. If you are someone who is resonating with this and you're really struggling to lose the extra weight and you want to lose 5 kilos or more in perimenopause or menopause without overwhelm, without obsessing about food and exercise, just drop a heart below. I'll send you the info on my program, the Goddess Project. It's an amazing group program, very affordable for women over 40 who want to lose 5 kilos or more in perimenopause and menopause. And it's not just all about the food and exercise. It's what goes on in between our two ears as well that's very important. So I hope that's helpful, girls. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.